Um, but yeah, so long story short, Leslie and I were talking about what we should cover tonight, and I just spit out all these different things that have been like on my mind the last couple of weeks, especially with like traveling. And I know that we took like a week off after Memorial Day weekend, and then Leslie ran the call on Thursday. So we have a lot to cover, but it shouldn't take very long, if that makes sense. It's more just, random things that we just need to bring up. So I'm going to dive in. First thing, I am so excited, but I just wanted to remind everybody that Elite as like a whole, so everybody that works with us, they have a Subtle Patriot wholesale account. So what's been coming up a lot is I ended up buying a couple bags because I thought they just look so good, and Crank Golf does not have golf bags anymore. We used to be able to get like their staff bags and stuff for our demo sets. And as you can see right here, I know it's really small, but Leslie has made a logo that actually marries both the Hero program and Crank Golf. But Morgan is working on adding that logo, just a normal Crank logo, and then also a normal Hero logo onto the JotForm, which you guys can find on the CRM for Subtle Patriot gear. And so a lot of their stuff, if you guys don't even want a golf bag, if you guys wanted to get a piece of luggage or a backpack, any of their stuff that has patches that you'll see in the photos, you can personalize those with one of those 3 different logos. So Chad out here in Florida, he did his very first crank it hole out at a tournament for me and borrowed this demo bag. And he said he had a ton of people asking to buy the bag. And so I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you can sell them. Just look up like what the full MSRP is, because I didn't know what it was off the top of my head. And you can sell it just like you would with the Crank driver. So don't give away my bag today, but sell it and we'll ship it to them. And so he was super excited. I know they ended up selling, I think, 1 or 2 drivers at his very first Crank It Hole event. And then so that you guys know too, Morgan is also putting together and is going to add it to our CRM, I believe here in the next day or so. It could even be on there already. We'd asked her to put together a price sheet. So then what your wholesale costs are for all of the different Subtle Patriot items, and then what you can sell them for as well. So super excited. I just ordered my 3rd bag to replace this one that's also going to be Navy and Subtle Patriot. And then this patch will be in soon too. So just wanted to remind everybody. And then I'm going to check the chat too, just in case. Okay.
Audra, about what do they run?
Oh yeah.
About.
So a lot of the bags, like wholesale costs are, I believe, between like 120 to like 150. They're super low cost, wholesale wise. And then I forget how much I saw on this one I just got in. I think it was sold for like, I don't know, maybe 300 or 350.
Yeah.
Does anybody else know the pricing by chance?
No, you're right on. I think it's actually 340, Audra. You're right on.
And then the patches, I just saw Noelani's chat. I had a call with Caitlin from Subtle Patriot earlier, and I believe she said that customized patches were only $10. So it's pretty low cost as well.
Awesome. Did Michael French have one of these golf bags? Did he get one?
I believe he got like a travel luggage bag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they make all kinds of stuff. If anybody's into like shooting, they're shooting like bags and stuff to keep your like rifles or whatever safe or really cool. I love your backpack. I was actually looking at it, trying to stop myself from spending more money last night. Noi.
I love
yeah, they have a bunch
backpack.
of cool stuff.
I had a couple comments. I had it out at my hole. And people were like, wow, that is really cool. And I was out in Hesperia, and there were a couple like, like your age, like in the 30, range, the young 20s or late 20s, early 30s. And they loved my backpack. So I had to watch that thing really close.
I think I heard somebody else begin to say something too.
Yeah, it's Gallagher. I have the one of the walk bags, and it was 130, and that was delivered. I got it in about a week. I haven't had it out on a tournament hole yet. but I walked with it the other day and I had all 3 guys in the group comment on it and asked where they could purchase it. Gave them a card and kind of told them what you already told us, that they could get them from us. But I'm also starting to see them in the PGA store. And then I
Nice.
stopped at Shields this weekend on Father's Day, and they actually have the big travel bags there in the army green. And everything that I've gotten from the pistol, the concealed pistol thing, to the golf bag and to that carry bag, everything has been good quality.
Oh my gosh. Yay, that makes me so
You know, so
happy. To be honest,
yeah,
I'm not a big stand bag fan when I golf because I still can't break 100. I like so many things in my golf bag. So I got a cart bag this time and I am obsessed. Like both bags are like high quality, like you were just saying, Chris, but oh my gosh, I'm like, something about this stand bag, it's so cool. Like when you open up these zippers right here on the sides, it's that cool, like American, like Liberty type print that's in that same like pistol planner and stuff too. So they've got some cool like hidden things in there. But yeah, so definitely make sure you guys check them out for sure. Okay, so I was surprised because I know that this has been coming up a lot in Florida. I'm not sure why. We haven't really seen like a lot of pushback in California yet, but when Noelani and I were talking after, I believe it was like either this last weekend's events or the weekend before, I realized I hadn't really shared with even our California team or with everybody what we've been doing out at tournaments in Florida whenever tournaments have both the Crank It hole and TSP at the same event. So I just thought I would cover it now. I'll show you guys examples of like the setups, and the main idea, I guess, behind everything is to stop people from pulling up to both the Crank It hole or TSP. And if it's the second hole that they're seeing, we started experiencing people wanting to like cut us off before we could even pitch them, even though, you know, they're clearly like different holes. One's a par 5, one's a par 3. From them seeing the same signage, like the Cancun signs and the gifting poster on both holes, they were pulling up saying, oh, I've already donated, I've already done this. Even though, again, you know, they're completely different holes, one has drivers, blah, blah, blah. So what we chose to do, and we kept trying different pitches, different ways of setting up the holes. And the way I feel worked the best was, for example, on TSP, you will want to only set up the Cancun and the $3,500 hole-in-one yard signs, not the gifting poster. And again, this is only at tournaments that have both programs. So then that way, the Crank It hole, you'll have like your 483 sign, whatever type of marker you put down there, but up at the hole, you'll only have the gifting poster. But your table signs, because they're so small, people are usually still in their carts when you're pitching, they don't really get a good look at those. You'll still have the same or similar table signs. So it says right here, you know, for TSP that you'll have like the 22 a day, the virtual gift bag, but then you will have the Savings Pass and Cancun FAQ table signs. And then of course, you know, your hero banner. And then for the Crank It hole, I always have up like the elite fundraising solutions that brings up like who we work with, that they should hire us, stuff like that, which you guys will see in the next slide. Info about crank drivers and buying them, and then the Savings Pass and Cancun FAQ sheet as well. And then of course your Crank It hole banner. And we had tried just separating them, having Cancun with just one and the Savings Pass with the other. But again, anything that was tied to Cancun just killed the other hole, to be honest. And then that was leaving us without an opportunity to have like a $25 level of donations, a $50 and a $100. And so this way, when you do it, we've actually gone back to TSP pitching that if, you know, they donate $50 individually and they land the green, then they have their choice of a Cancun trip or a Hero Program Savings Pass. And then for $100 individually, then they get both of those items. You just won't have that gifting poster to explain. And then same thing with the Crank It hole, you know, they can donate 25 if they'd like to move up. But if anybody individually donates $50, then you can be pointing, to your gifting poster that they get either the savings pass or the Cancun trip. And then for $100 individually, they get both. And so, this is just like what's been working for us, making sure they don't look anything alike. And so to show you guys, for the Crank It hole, we just put up, our banner right here. And then on the hero hole, we just did those two signs. And that has helped a lot, because then people don't realize until the very end of your pitch that, oh, these sound really similar. I heard Cancun and a savings pass on the other hole, but they've already at least been open to you. They're talking to you. They're not just pulling up and saying, oh, we already did this. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they might want to add about this?
I love this. This is gonna help so much, because at my Crank It hole, I'm only offering $100. I didn't have that $50 option at Crank. And, for me, it's like, okay, well, it's okay. Everything's okay. I can do this. But I, like being able to say, oh, if, a couple of you cover this 50 and 50, then you get this too. You get to choose, or, anyone who does the 100. This is huge. Thank you. I love it. Great idea.
And I just wanted to add too, and Audrey, you might cover this in a little bit, but we are no longer doing restaurant.com cards or anything like that. We are using Cancun and the Savings Pass as the filler prizes. So if you have, 2 crank drivers that you're giving away on the Crank It hole, don't give away the restaurant.com cards anymore. Don't give away that stuff. We're using Cancun and Savings Pass as those fillers.
No, thank you for covering that. And I want to check the chat too, just to make sure. Oh yeah.
What is that value though that we're
That's
putting
Alex
on those
Y.
ones?
Haley.
She looks
What was
beautiful.
that?
Where's the value then? Like where's the makeup part? So you know how the restaurant card was making up like, 200 or 150 or what was it? 50,
we don't-
100,
Yeah, so we don't have like smaller dollar amounts, because they're still like, they're high value items, like the savings pass is still valued at like 500. And then I can't remember, but I have it on a slide here in a little bit. The certificate for the Cancun trip is either valued at 800 or 1,000. And the reason why some of our marketing shows both of those numbers is because there really is a huge gap of what that worth is for the Cancun trip. So like very minimum, it's worth 800, but some of those trips, Leslie, aren't they like worth 28 or $3,000?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. $2,800 for some of those.
Yeah, so we just wanted to meet in the middle, like give them, or not even in the middle, I would say still err on like the lower end. But we just know what our margins are. And so let me see where I have this. Oh, perfect. So that's going to walk right into this slide actually, because we have the Savings Pass and Cancun printed certificates. You guys can find them under tournament programs on the CRM, both under the Crank It hole and also for like player packages or super tickets. And reason being for the Crank It hole, what we started experiencing out here in Florida is it was really, it was a lot easier to get into tournaments if we said we wanted to sponsor the longest drive hole, right? But then we would get ourselves in a pinch when there was only say 60 to 80 golfers. Well, if you don't get 100%, then it makes it really tough to raffle off a driver or a prize and also cover the prize for longest drive. And so we actually had a situation where we raised like $600 exactly. We were already rounding up to give away a driver to raffle off. And I was like, okay, what are we gonna do for longest drive? So I'm like, why don't you just give them a Cancun trip or Savings Pass and give it like, have it be their option. And so I asked Leslie and Morgan to please put together a certificate because it'll help fill that gap. But what we pay Cancun or what we pay the Savings Pass company is way less than what we will pay for those drivers. So really it's just to help you get out of a pinch. We don't want you to like replace raffling off drivers by any means. Those will always be given out first. But if you have like an extra $100 or $200 and you're like, shoot, I don't even know what to give, I would definitely give the charity or the organization, whoever's running that tournament, the option of giving a savings pass or a Cancun trip. And to be honest, I would say like 9 times out of 10, people will choose a Cancun trip. But it's also under player packages. And we had a couple people on our team and a couple other teams as well do their very first super tickets on Monday. So just yesterday. And that was something that came up like, oh yeah, don't forget, make sure you print those physical certificates, because those are used for closest to the pin prizes during the $100,000 shootout and also the scratch card game. So this is what they look like. I had just told Nick out in Ohio, he's like, how many do I print? I'm like, well, I personally have a super ticket box. And so I have like 10 or more of all of my sheets that I could possibly need, because after doing so many of them, you'll learn that weird things just happen sometimes. So I remember one tournament, for example, they were like, oh, I thought you were covering every single prize. I'm like, no, you guys got 2 prizes and you told me you wanted me to cover like closest to the pin and longest drive, but they had men and women. So luckily back then I had a bunch of those extra like ultimate savings pass cards in my box. And so I just grabbed those and we use those as prizes. So this kind of stuff will come up, and just know that it is okay to give something away like this, but it's a lot more expensive for the company to give out another like tee box or driver or something like that.
Audra,
Yes.
real quick question. I don't see anything about our tee boxes on here now. Have you stopped with those? Are they?
Oh no, so that's a great question. So I just wanted to like pretty much only cover that we have a savings pass in Cancun printed certificates. But with the tee boxes, one thing that I have done personally, because I hate not having the tee boxes physically, is I asked Amanda to send me like 20 or more boxes just to have here, because my team's booking so many events and they're starting to get really good at booking the player packages. But we're still using tee boxes for everything for the player packages. And those are the prizes for like whatever contest they want. So like longest drive, closest to the pin, putting, whatever that could be. And then same thing with Crank It Hole. We would still prefer you to go from a driver to a tee box, but honestly, most people get really excited about Cancun, so you can interchange those if you would like to, but really they're just supposed to only be used when you're in a pinch, because we know that we have better margins on a Cancun trip rather than a tee box or a driver.
Aren't the tee boxes valued at 600 and 650? Is that the idea? Or is it 650? I can't remember.
Yeah, 500 and 650. So I personally have all of those. I have driver certificates, both tee box prize points. And then I also have the savings pass and Cancun certs. I have like a stack of all of them in every single Crank It Hole box, and then in my 2 super ticket boxes as well.
When I showed people this $650 tee box, they laughed at me. They said, I'll take the club, thank you.
See, so then I feel like, to be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if people started to like move towards wanting drivers and Cancun trips.
Definitely. I mean, you know, the boxes look great.
Mhm.
Boxes look really nice, but when you open them, it's like, it's not. Yeah, they don't look like they're worth $650.
I think
Yeah.
they're supposed to have like an ultimate savings pass or something inside of them as
Yes.
well, though, right?
They
Isn't
are
that-
supposed to have that ultimate savings pass, which is valued at $500. So that
Yeah.
is why
That's why it is
that
500.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we set that value so high.
I understand, but the appearance of it itself is, I mean, you can say, oh, it's worth a lot, but it's just a piece of paper. You understand?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
club has so much more, because I have clubs with me when I'm out there, and clubs with me even when I go to the banquet, and they love those. They love the look of them. You know, they're beautiful. So it's a
I don't
huge.
know. When I give away those boxes, Michael, they love them.
Do they? Great.
Excited to have them.
I'm like, I just love the box. I couldn't bring myself to throw them away. Once I was like, I got gifted one, I think it was for Christmas or something from the company. And I still have like the empty box because I just think it's so cool looking. But what I have been told is that we purchase a certain amount of inventory that we can't get out of. essentially. And so we have, a huge, I guess, like, number of those that we need to go through before we can switch to other prizes. So that's why we've actually held off on using Subtle Patriot for a lot of our like filler prizes for now. But we're also just told last week, right, Leslie, that that they're taking the ultimate sports passes out of them. And so that does open us up to being able to fill them with other like prizes and stuff here soon. But we have to figure out, one, for all the physical ones that we have at Amanda's, Noelani's, my house, I don't know who else is putting like big orders of them as well, what we need to replace. And then for the like manufacturers themselves, what we're going to replace the rest of them with too. So. All right, let's see. So make sure you guys print your physical certs. What else do we got? So I thought I would take kind of like a break in the middle, if you will, and just see. I know that Leslie had a great training call last Thursday with everybody going over the recurring donations. And so again, I just wanted to reiterate, you know, that you can, for the first time in our company, this is like the first time we've been able to offer what's the right like term, just basically being able to make money with like your efforts now, but it'll pay you later on, right? So if you grind right now, you get a bunch of people who are all signing up to do recurring monthly donations. Then the idea is in like a year from now, you should be able to take a break and be making, you know, solid paychecks coming in from those recurring donations. And then I just wanted to make sure that you guys saw again, you know, gratis set up for on course hero days only. You can get people to sign up for recurring donations with your QR code sharing. But I honestly wanted to throw this page up here to see if anybody did have questions from like any part of the recurring donations at all, so we can cover it on the call with everybody.
And I'll just throw in there too, for that final option too, you can direct people to the website as well, because they can choose you as their representative, and you will still make your monthly income and your recurring donations through the website too. So you can go check that out. Just click on the donate tab and you can fill it out, see how it works, but that is that third option as well.
I'm so obsessed with the website, by the way. If you guys have not gone on to see the changes that Leslie has made, you need to.
I'm
It's
just
getting better every day.
I'm just curious as to what do you say about because we're not a 501c3, what do you say about the charity when you use this?
Like why they're making a recurring donation?
Well, yeah, we know it goes to the heroes, but they sometimes ask about what charity do you work for?
So I bring up that we are a for-profit company that fundraises for a bunch of nonprofits. And so depending on what state I'm in, I'll bring up one that might be like local or close by, or my favorite one, honestly, will probably always be For the Fallen, because that's like really what got the hero program like started. And so I just bring up like what we fundraise for and that we disperse it to all those different 501c3s. But even though we are a for-profit company, we only keep 5.3%. And so then they're usually even more like blown away hearing that we aren't super greedy, that we're not keeping like 70% and only dishing out whatever, you know, amount to them. And then I'm not sure that I'm supposed to be saying this, but we do have our final approval actually to have the hero program be a 501c3. But we're dealing with like uncharted waters right now. So we want to make sure that we have like everything set and in place and we do everything correctly before we start to utilize that.
Yeah, I always mention For the Fallen, and most people know them if nothing else. And then of course the local ones, that's always good to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
biggest
fine.
are PJ, Hope, and For the Fallen for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's fine to let us know that that's what direction we're going in, because I think that's always been from day one, the direction that as a company we wanted to go in.
Yeah,
So the hero program has given us that opportunity to really hone in, and because it's like we literally do what, millions of these, like
yeah,
charities across the nation. It's not just our veterans, first responders. So like, which one do you choose? And then, so with us doing our hero program, it's really been great to be able to like identify and have a brand, and this is who we are and that type of thing. So I'm excited for it to finally come about. It's like, what a dream. Yay.
Yeah, we're really on that brink of launching
I know.
our 501c3 here, you guys. So yes, I mean,
Just hang
the
on.
best way to answer it is saying we benefit so many charities nationwide. And you can even direct them to look at our logos that we have on some of our flyers. Like we have the logos on a ton of our marketing materials. So I would definitely do exactly what Audra said and say, hey, our biggest, we support For the Fallen, PGA Hope. And if you are in a regional area like I am, and if you want to say NeuroX, they're in Fort Collins, they started here, those kinds of things, that will hit home as well. So just make sure you touch home with that.
Yeah, I'm like, great point. Does anybody else have any other questions about recurring donations at all before I move on?
We have one more training on this though, right? Don't we? Or no? Am I like missing
I'll let
it?
Leslie answer that since she ran the call last week. I'm not sure.
Is that a no, Leslie?
Well, we did the whole training last week, but we are working on an official training video. Morgan's helping me out with that. So we will have that up to date with Kayla's presentation about how to get your Gratis account up and running, set up so you can use it on course, how you can get the card to scan, which I know we've been having a couple problems with. I know I've been talking to Jason about this out in California. If you are having problems with scanning people's cards on course with your phone, please let me know, because we're kind of getting over a hump with Gratis with that. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but you should be able to scan their card out on the course, and all of their information just goes directly into Gratis. So we do have that training being updated right now. So that will be on our YouTube channel as well as our onboarding process. But now I think we were just going to go with that for last week, but we want to make sure that we answer any questions that anybody has at this point, just because I know it can be a little confusing for everybody, not just our team members, but even for Audra and I. We've been like,
what do we do with this?
you
I don't know.
understand this? Yeah. So we just want to make sure everybody has their questions answered at this point while we kind of go through this process of rolling it out.
I don't believe that for a second. You guys know
I
everything.
love you guys.
Michael, you're the best. I try.
Okay,
love you guys.
because this is uncharted waters for me, even I've never even tried this on a hole. I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the next page unless somebody has a question. And then email us, of course. We'll get you all the
Terry got
answers
her
for the
first
people who know.
one. Terry got her first one. And I
Nice.
was like, how did you do it? She goes, I don't know. So she's gonna train me.
Marcy was actually really bummed too, because she was like, wait, I have somebody who wants to do it. What do I do? Oh no. And I was like, do you have Gratis? And Marcy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was like maybe your second or third event. So I was so proud of her for even like bringing it up on the whole and having somebody, but we weren't quite set up yet. So I truly feel like this is going to be like monumental for anybody's income once we get it figured out. So if like you really just hone in on this, I personally am like one of those people where I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to sign up way more people at $9.99 and $19.99. It's easier to get smaller donations anyway. And that's all I would pitch, So we're excited.
Yes.
Trying to see. Okay. So, square suggestions. I added a couple things on here just to warn you guys that I don't have like a presentation for, but after the call tonight, if you guys have additional questions, just let me know, because I do feel like there were some things that I've actually found out from people that are new to the team that have helped me a lot lately. So just a couple different like items. Make sure that your banking information is on your Square account before your first use. We experience that it takes a solid 7 to 14 business days for them to transfer that money to your bank account if it is not on there before you make like your first, swipe for whatever donation. So for anybody brand new, this will be helpful. And then, if you guys have not already, which I do feel like our team now, we don't have as many like fresh, brand new people, but in case somebody is on this call that has not set up Square at all, you want to make sure that you add items onto your Square so that your donations honestly look legit. And then it actually really helps with keeping track of like the different programs and how you fundraise efficiently. So for example, back in the day, they didn't have those options. And so I would run my, Square all morning long doing a player package that I was selling at registration. Then I would rush out to the hole. And if I forgot to check what that total was, oh my gosh, good luck trying to figure out like what exactly was raised for the super ticket, which has to be inputted separately. And then what I raised out on the whole, separately. And so luckily back then, the super tickets were generally sold for $40. We were only really taking donations of $20 out on the whole. So it was easier to figure out, but if you could just avoid that now by adding items, which I'll have on the next slide, this will help you a ton. And then anybody that has reps that are logging into their Square, definitely make sure to add the name of the rep. I tried everything from trying to remember, before a big weekend especially, but I would put in all the different event names and what it was. And so I would tell, hey, Joe, make sure you click on, Miracle Network or whatever, TSP. Well, he might have accidentally clicked on something else because he forgot the name of the tournament, whatever it might be. It is really hard to mess up you just clicking on your own name. So I'll show you that on the next slide as well. And then don't forget that you can add like discounts on there. One thing that I do when I sell drivers through my Square is I put like the shipping fee. And then I also have like a free shipping discount. So then it shows them like, hey, I'm hooking them up, and they'll see it in that receipt. It doesn't really matter, but I feel like that has to like help your relationship with them that much more, right? That you waive their shipping, you give them a discount, all these different things that you're trying to do. So if you're adding those items to your Square and they're going to see that on the receipt, I do feel like it'll help that relationship down the road. And then I do want to make sure, I know that I have this in my own GroupMe chat, but you want to make sure that all the fees that we are used to taking in, or at least I was for way too long, you can actually make sure that all those fees are hitting the customers, not you, besides like the small transfer fee. So that I don't believe will ever go away, but it'll help a ton if those fees of them actually swiping their cards are hitting them. And how I was like, how do I put this? I felt really weird at first. I'm like, oh, but what if people aren't okay with that and all this stuff? But then I stopped and thought about it. I'm like, every single time I go get my nails done, anytime I use like one of those, Square iPad things at a restaurant, I'm always hit with those fees, and I never say anything. I'm always like, okay, cool. And it'll even pop up, do I want to tip or whatever? And so I've never even like batted an eye, at it. And so they aren't either. It's just uncomfortable, at least it was for me at first, because I had never done it before. So I do want to show you guys on the next slide. This is all the different items in my Square right now currently. So again, Christina, boom, she's going to click on her name. I kept an open variable, so then that way, especially on a hero day, she could run somebody's card for $10 or $1,000, whatever it is. But by her clicking on her name and say I have 15 different reps or different events on my Square in one day, I can track everything efficiently. Free shipping is one of the discounts, friends and family discount, for the driver sale, long drive hitter. I've had a couple long drive hitters log into my Square for an event because they didn't have their own accounts. And then I kept an open variable for like long drive crank order, because it really depends on like so many different factors on what they want for that club, on what the cost is going to be. So I just wanted to show you guys a couple things. And then, one thing that a lot of people really like too is like the veteran discount, and then you can go in there, you can always edit it. So to be honest, I probably should have, or hero discount. I usually offer veterans and first responders, I'll give them $250 off the drivers if I meet them out at a hole. And then everybody else gets, 150 to 200 off instead. And so that's where I have like friends and family or like attorney discount. So don't feel like when you set these, they have to stay at those prices. You can always alter them, before you even charge that person. But I just wanted to show you guys a couple examples, but does anybody have any questions about Square at all before I move on?
Audra, the service fee, the 3.5%. So you're saying that the customer is paying that?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. So the reason why I added that on there is because I kept getting myself in a pickle per usual, with super tickets. And so, or I guess I should say an elite custom package because it was built in. And so I was not going to leave without getting like the payment. But if anybody on the call does not know, if the tournament pays you with a check the day of the event, you're not going to get paid on that for up to 2 weeks after, because it has to go to Elite. Elite doesn't reconcile those events fully for about 2 weeks, depending on what day your tournament lands on. And so I knew that if they had like a company card that I could swipe instead, that I would prefer that, because then I'm taking my pay and I'm sending the rest to Elite. But usually those are such high dollar amounts, I don't want to pay that service fee. I was like, that would take like a huge chunk of my pay. So I learned that the service fee, or I guess like the swipe fee, is about 3.5%. You can always Google it or alter it and change it too, but I kept it as a variable. So I would go in and calculate, say it was, and I don't want to tell you guys the wrong number, say it was, I don't know, $4,000 that they owed you. So you would multiply that by 0.035. So they're going to get charged an additional 140, and then you would add that to the 4,000. So you'd be charging them 4,140. So then that way you're not eating all those fees that day. Does that make sense? But I only added that on there for super tickets for that reason. Otherwise, I don't ever actually add that on. But I had mentioned on here too that in the settings, and I have a link on my GroupMe, I can send it to Leslie's group as well, where if you go into your settings, anything now that you are swiping through there is all going to be added onto the customer, not you at all. So to be honest, I probably should have deleted that before taking a screenshot today.
It does really help though, because you guys know how much we run through our squares, and the fees are just killer at some, at certain points. So setting this up just really, and we're all used to paying fees. We're all used to it. We never even bat an eye at it. So, and I've been doing this since, how long have we known about this, Audra?
I just learned, you guys,
Yeah.
because Dominic
get it
set it
in.
up on my square for me like
Yeah.
a month or two ago. So props to Dominic.
We love it. We
Well, I'll
love
make
it.
sure that I send, I had him record videos, and I believe I actually emailed this out some time ago, but I'll make sure that it goes out with this training recording as well. So everybody can make sure that their squares are set up and you are eating the least amount of fees as you possibly can.
Audra,
Just
will you send
just an
these
idea.
screenshots out too to the group me's as well?
What was that?
Will you send these screenshots out just so we have the list for all the teams, just the
Yeah.
screenshots to the group me chats as well, just so people can see, hey,
Yes.
these are, what I've had in those.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Just an idea on the fees also. What I was doing at Super Tickets was asking if they wanted to give a tip in order to cover that fee. And a lot of times people were giving me 15, 20, 25 bucks.
That's a good idea. I know that Christina and Sam on my team, I think one of them actually set up tips on my square for me, but that pops up automatically now. I'm in the habit of having my phone in my hand, swiping the card for them, but they just go like this. They're like, here you go. Once they like text it all in. So it'll ask them if they want to leave a tip for the girls, and then they'll swipe, their card after that. So that's a great idea. And fees, okay. Okay, I honestly can't remember how many more slides there are, so we're gonna keep it moving. So I feel like most people know this, but just in case, I thought I would recover, just, the general importance of First Day Hero Days. So, as most of you probably know, it can be hard, to get courses closed, as it is. So, you want to go ahead and book, that First Day Hero Day for as soon as they give you a yes. And not only book it, but go. So we've had a couple, I guess, situations where people were allowed to just kind of come out whenever. And so it became more like relaxed. And I feel like, and I don't know if Leslie or, anybody else, any other TMs on the team have something they want to add, but I feel like it shows that you're eager, that you are excited to finally get them, that you want to go out there and do a great job for the Hero program and helping first responders and veterans and their families. And so the second you get a yes, you want to like book that for the first date that they'll give you. Another good point too is that it guarantees you, 12 fundraising events, per year, and that's just on average. So gosh, if you get a resort course, you could be out there anytime from 2 to 4 days a month. So you're working upwards of 48 events a year. I also realize that private courses, you might only be going like 2 or 3 times a year, but we were so excited. I remember my mind being absolutely blown when Jay was talking to me at the very beginning of us starting our Hero program. And we had never had something like this before. So if we didn't book that tournament and that tournament canceled and just didn't want to have it, the next year for whatever reason, we were scrambling to try to get, a new one to replace it. But this was the first opportunity, one, to basically save us through COVID, because it was the only thing, if courses were okay with us being out there, that allowed us to make money, but it was guaranteed money. And so I just wanted to like stress again, what the importance is of, creating that relationship with them. Whenever you're there, they're getting to know you, you're getting to know them, they see your face, they see how people are reacting to the Hero Hole. And so that usually helps lead you into getting more tournaments. Hopefully, white labeling with them if you didn't white label with them right away. And then again, I really believe, and I know Chris Gallagher and his wife will attest to this too, that especially on that First Day Hero Day, stay as long as you possibly can, or split that shift with someone so that you are again leaving such a great impression where they're like, wow, you guys are still out here. Like, that is music to my ears. I love hearing when a course has said that to a rep, that's out there. So does anybody have anything to add or any questions on this topic?
You're covering this so well, Audra. And I think the biggest thing is the importance of that first Hero Day. I say, don't go to a Hero course and say that you've booked a Hero course until you have something on the calendar. I mean, that first Hero Day, you have to have it out there. I say, at the end of your meetings, just be sure to say, all right, this is where we want to be. We want to do this at your course. Give me a date and a time and I'll be here. And then just let them talk from there. I mean, they'll give you a date if you just sit with them on it for a minute. That's super, super important.
Yeah, I'm like, thank you so much for adding that. Like, what time? Okay, we got 15.
Thing for the Hero program course.
What was that? Sorry.
Sorry, I got one thing for that Hero Day, being out there on the course. When I did my first day, actually Memorial Day, I had talked to the course director over and over just to verify almost week out, saying, hey, I'm coming in this day. Hey, I'm still coming in this day, so that they were aware. A lot of these guys are busy as ever. And sometimes, yeah, we can do this. I would say just at least give them at least a 3-day notice and say, hey, heads up, this is what we talked about. This is what we're good for.
Yeah.
Because that's you, and it works out. I actually have another one coming up in 2 weeks because of it.
Yay. I'm like, well,
Great job, Dean.
congratulations.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point.
No, I love that. And then I think too, it's like finding like that fine balance of, not annoying them or getting a hold of them too much, but when you are in good like contacts with them and you guys are just, I don't know how else to say it except for like vibing. But then you again start creating just like a stronger relationship. You're getting to know them. They like you. And so it just usually opens the door for so many more events. So that was a great point.
I love that because, like just, they're referring people to you then, like I just got this one from Tuckwit and we've really been with Tuckwit probably from the first,
Yeah.
they were one of our first courses. And I'm out here in Cal and we've gone through 3 tournament directors, Audra?
Thank
Before
God.
Alex, now
We love
Curtis, and there was one before Alex. And Curtis was like, oh, the only people that you can talk to are Elite. That if you need help, you gotta go to Elite. Gave Audra's email, my email, all our phone numbers, everything he had, he gave. And it's like, that's the biggest compliment that our company can have is when they're, saying here, no, you can only go to them because they'll help you. They'll have a great event.
Yes, and same at Inverness out here in Denver, you guys. I mean, Chris closed that course. Actually, Audra and Jay closed that course with the previous GM, and then Chris went out with the new GM and closed that course. And now we have such a great relationship with everybody out there. They're like, nope, we only go through Elite. We're all good friends with them out there now. I mean, that is the biggest compliment you can get. So white labeling all your tournaments in there, getting that relationship going is really important.
No, that's a great point.
I had a funny thing though happen to me because you say stay out there as long as you possibly can. Yeah, I did that a couple times and when I came in, the pro shop was closed. So I had to come the next day to give them their money.
So
It's
a lot of times I'm like, that
okay.
happens to our team a lot, Mike, like
Yeah.
a lot. And we just call
Yeah.
and buy it over the phone the next day.
Like every weekend it happens.
Yeah, I was like,
Michael. We're out there till dark.
You're smarter than I am.
Every weekend.
and I have like a message pinned in my group me. To again, I guess like reiterate on that. But I feel so strongly about like you just never know, who's out there. But in my experience, I remember doing a first day hero day at Remington and I was doing pretty well. I think I ended up raising like around 2,000 or something, which is great for Florida in certain areas. But from 4:59 to 6:06, so my last, just over an hour, I raised an extra $590. And so 1, you just never know who's gonna be out there, but 2, keep your butt out on that hole as long as you can, because oh my God, like that changed my whole entire day,
Yes.
Okay. So let's see what else I have out here for you guys. I think this might be my last slide. Player packages. I wanted to go over because this just happened or came up recently, I should say. So I just wanted to reiterate the difference between selling a super ticket and then building in a player package. So when a tournament opts into selling a super ticket, what that means is they are locked in with us for the $20 package, but still for the amount of golfers that they are expecting, not how many you sell. So for example, for easy numbers, say they're expecting 100 golfers, Elite is owed $2,000. So $20 times 100 players. And so that's why we suggest selling it for at least $40 or more, so that if you only get 50% of whatever that number is, however many golfers, then Elite's costs are totally covered. But because we generally see about, I would say Noelani, 60 to 85% sales, then they're also making anything above that 50%, but that's $40 in their pockets. So we just always have to make sure that we're covered, that we're all of our expenses, are covered, that you get paid and so on. And then that can also end up being a fundraiser for that event as well. And what I also tell people, because usually this happens your first year, right? Most events don't opt in to keep having you out there to sell them every single year. They'll usually end up building it in. And so what you'll want to tell them is, hey, for this first year, I'll come out, no big deal. There's nothing out of your pockets, but just so you understand, this is how it works. So that our costs are covered. You guys don't have to worry about, any of the insurances, the prizes. We're going to come and run all the different contests for you. And there's potential for you to make money as well. But for next year, if I can get a hold of you, from the get-go, before you guys send out any of your flyers, you'll just want to bump up your entry fee, whatever dollar amount you want, but at least by like $20, depending on which package, of course. And so by doing that, now you're taking the most exciting contests and prizes, you're adding those to the flyer, like the $100,000 shootout and whichever, premium hole-in-one you guys choose. Usually golfers love seeing high-end items like that on flyers. So then hopefully you're attracting, or most likely you'll be attracting more players, more sponsors, and you don't have to worry or stress that we are going to sell enough because it's already built in. And then the last side to that too is, if you guys remember in my email templates that we sent out after doing that 3-week workshop, the email spells out like every little piece of what's included, but how they can actually break down that package and utilize that as sponsorship opportunities to make even more money from that player package. So the other thing too is make sure you guys send that email template, whether it's something, a super ticket that's being sold or a player package that they're building in, because that is the only form of like an agreement that we have. And so by them, you'll want to just tell them over the phone, like, please just, reply and say, yes, I agree. That is sufficient, but usually they'll have questions or, they're still trying to figure out what the heck it is that you're doing for them most of the time. So they'll end up being a correspondence, but so that you guys know that that email template has to be sent, because we don't have like a formal agreement. So that counts as far as like our lawyers or attorneys have told us to protect us, so that if something ever does happen where you don't sell enough, or if they didn't understand or whatever, you have it all in writing. Does anybody have any questions on this topic at all?
Audra, you mentioned expected golfers. I thought we went by registered golfers.
Yeah, so yes and no, that's a good question. How I would I guess explain that is they don't ever want to be short, and you do need to follow up with them. I would say honestly, Norilani usually calls like the day before to get like the truest number that you possibly can, because of us experiencing when that guy got a hole-in-one, but the gap of what they were expecting and what was actual was too far off. And I cannot remember like what the difference was, but it was too far off to where that hole-in-one and the $100,000 shootout, they weren't valid anymore.
It was over 5%, I think, right?
Yeah, it is 5%.
Yeah, so I just tell them like, hey, like keep me posted. But I know for a fact that Norilani calls them the day before to make sure. And sometimes she'll even call the morning of, and she'll call Amanda or Brian, the guy with the insurance company, to be like, hey, just so you know, we're at this many, so count up for that so that everything is valid.
I call them both. I
Yeah.
let them know. And then Amanda will get on it. She adjusts it, and then I get text messages or emails, like literally at registration, and they've adjusted it for me. But I put notes in there too, where this is the first time they're doing this, and I let them, communication's key always, and more information is always the best. And they're really awesome about that. Amanda's awesome about helping and, and I let Audra know always, this is what's happening. So, the more you let all of us know, we can help,
And the morning of really does work. I mean, I was just told by our insurance agency that if you let us know the morning of, we will take care of it, but it has to be before the tournament starts.
Yeah.
And it has to be exact numbers. So if you can get that information before the tournament starts, at least to Amanda, to corporate, to your RVP, and to insurance, which one of us will take care of if you don't have that contact information, but that's very important to know. So I have a huge super ticket coming up on Monday, next Monday. So I wanted to be sure that I knew exactly what to do out there as well. So
Yeah.
just so you guys know, just be prepared for that.
And that's honestly going up or down, so you guys know. So it's not always the case that you get to an event and they just have way more golfers that show up. Sometimes you get to an event and they have way less. So again, you'll want to call and be like, look, I don't know what you guys can do, but we were expecting 100, but they only have 75. So what can we do? You know, and just call somebody, let somebody know so we can figure it out and update you know, you once you're done with the registration.
And that's happened to me. I think everything's happened to us, hasn't it, Leslie and Audra?
Everything.
But it's like,
For sure.
yeah, I
That's why
know,
we can teach it now.
seriously, learn by our mistakes and our ways.
Yes.
But yeah, I called and said, hey, they were below 72. And so I was like, I need to drop this to 72. And they were like crying, so happy that, you know, Amanda was like, of course, Brian was cool. Yeah, no worries, but that is our minimum. We don't go
They have to pay
below.
for 72, doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's 72 in order for all the insurance and everybody, and they were happy to do that. So yeah, as long as you guys are communicating and talking constantly, and they become your best friends. I mean, really. So yeah.
Good point. Does anybody else have any other questions before I move on to the next slide? Okay. So to be honest, I'm like, yay, I'm glad I got this right. I just thought I would open it up to see if anybody had any like weird situations, if anybody wanted us to like go over anything else, but I really just wanted to open this up for any sort of questions or topics of any kind.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
When you're trying to fill out the tournament valuation form and you're giving away the Cancun packages in addition to the drivers, and it says, you know, how many Cancun trips did you give away? What do you list as the value of that so that the tournament sees, oh, geez, they're giving us $10,000 here, you know?
Yeah. So, dang it, I didn't put the tracking form on here, but, it does say on here that, let's zoom this puppy in. Maybe it didn't. So generally on like pretty much all of our marketing, they're worth $800. That's what we value it at. So I personally, like if it's whatever hole, doesn't matter if it's TSP or crank it hole, in the notes section, I'll put, I gave out 13, you know, Cancun trips, $800 value, and I total that for them. In the
Okay,
notes.
so you do it at the retail value.
Yeah,
And you're
and that's
showing
the
them how much
lowest.
it's worth.
Yeah, that's the lowest retail value.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so then people are like, wait, what? Like, they can't believe it. And I even noticed too that David Wills in Texas, he has been posting not only in his group chat, but also on like social media, like, oh my gosh, we've already given out over $13,000 worth of trips to Cancun. And so like that sparks people's like attention. They're like, wait, what? What are they giving out on these holes and stuff? To not only like attract other tournaments to him, but even I was like, oh, that's a good way of putting it. Okay, David.
I see you. You know what? I
Yeah.
do the same thing. I do the same exact thing. It's
Yeah, please add
22
it.
times 800. I use the lowest dollar amount and they're like, wait, what? And they love it. They're like, thank you so much. So
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything else you want us to cover or any questions about any of our many topics tonight?
Audra, if you could, and I know we've already talked about this, but what would happen in a scenario when a course is using 3 9s for a super ticket
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned how to cheat the system a little bit, and I don't consider it that because you would do this at any other tournament. So if a tournament has 3 nines and say they are sold out, that's 216 golfers, if I did my math correctly, pretty sure. And with that, what I would do is I would put in one order for 144 golfers. And so it would max out all those prizes and everything. But then because you have a third 9, I would put in another order for 72. Or say they didn't fill all 3, but one course has, or how do I word this? Say they have like 175 golfers. I'd put in one event on the CRM for 100 and then another event for 75, so that again, you're maximizing how many contests you can put out there. And it keeps it even. So generally they're gonna see, that would give them like 2 hole-in-ones, if they did like a $20 or $25 package. And they can usually, what's it called, space those out evenly to where everybody would see at least one of those. But it would actually give them 8 $100,000 shootout participants instead of 4. And then I'm trying to think of what else that does. And then that would give them anywhere from 4 but up to 8 contest prizes. So, I mean, at that point, God, just throw in, you know, whatever, but it just gives you so much room to play around with to try to make everything as even as possible. And then as far as fundraiser holes, because I do have a 27 hole event coming up out here in Florida at the same course, Leslie, is for the Fallens. I suggested that their hole fundraisers are different. So we're gonna do a hero hole on one of the 9s. We're gonna do a long drive entertainer on one of the 9s, and then we're gonna do a crank-it hole on one of the 9s. So no matter what, people are seeing something different.
That is awesome. Thank you for saying all of that, because I feel like
Thank you.
I'm kind of learning this for the first time with 27 holes. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I feel like we should share this news. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I just I didn't think that it was fair. I was trying to get I kept asking, hey, can I upgrade them? And like, how much would this be or whatever? And I was like, why do I have to charge them more when they have a ridiculous amount of golfers? You know, if they're using 3 nines, that is a lot of people. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it in as 2 different events. So that would double all their stuff, and you have plenty to work with. So if you guys
Love it.
do get in a pinch with a 27 hole event, let me know. And I was honestly super thankful that I just happened to live right next to one that we were at all the time for events.
Yeah.
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
Are you using the long drive contest on your crank-it hole if you have it out there?
So in Florida, that's how we get a ton of events booked. But me personally, when I set up the layout for the fundraiser holes and the player package holes, I keep them separate because I personally like to see more things like as I'm playing. I don't like stuff stacked up. So I'm the type where like I'd rather see a booth on every hole. Not really every single hole, but I'd like to see something every hole or couple holes than have like a huge gap in between the tournament where I saw nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you have it on the same hole, are you letting them take a shot with their own club and a shot with the crank?
Yeah, so that's how we get into a ton of tournaments again out here. So in our pitch out here, we tell them, hey guys, like this is like the longest drive hole plus the crank-it hole. So what that means is you'll hit 1 ball with your driver and 1 with ours, but you're going to take whichever one of those 2 goes farther for the contest. And then, you know, then we go into, we're going to let you guys pick up, advance our world record, blah, 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 so that we don't slow down play, especially since they're hitting 2 balls.
Oh, I love that.
So Audra, we did one, Jason and I was doing the crank it, and a guy hit the crank 341.
Dang.
Yeah, I was like, dude. And it was, yeah, I was like, that was really amazing. I couldn't even believe it. Like that's like competitor level. That's awesome.
You mean 441?
No, 341, like getting into that type of like, you know, like honing in on his skills and that kind of thing. I mean, that was one hit.
I mean, that's only like 40 yards different from my longest drive, so.
Oh, girl. Okay.
Mic drop right there, baby.
But for real though, it's on Facebook, so it happened.
I missed that one.
No, I'm pretty sure that'll be my longest drive of my entire life, but, so like anything that breaks over 300, I think is amazing.
Cliff there at Pachanga? Was it off the cliff at Pachanga?
Oh my God, I wish. Carter and I were playing, at Falcons Fire out here in Orlando, like a little 9-hole round in the afternoon, and I outdrove him and my ball was right in front of the green. I was so stoked. I'm like, let me just go to my ball. But then I'm pretty sure I shanked my chip and probably missed my putt too, so it doesn't matter.
Need a hybrid.
I love it. Well, thank you, Audra. Oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
was amazing. Everything was so helpful to everybody. So I think I speak for us all. Thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you guys for bearing with me and going over so many different topics. I really hope that all these helped everybody. And then I'm going to do my best to remember everything that I was supposed to include in the follow-up email with this recording link. So if I forget anything, let me know beforehand, because I'll probably send it out in the morning.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good to see everybody.
All right. Good night, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.